Welcome back to Vendetta Sports NBA preview series. It's going to be on all of our YouTube channels. It's going to be on the website. Keep an eye on Twitter. My name's Jarrod Prosser. I'm here today with Jerry Walker. And Jerry, we're going to be talking about your favourite team, a team that really should be in for a massive bounce back season, the Denver Nuggets.
Yeah, absolutely. It should be very much a bounce back season. Getting two key players back from injury will be huge. And this is the best Nuggets team I've personally seen since maybe Melo when we made it to the Western Conference Finals in 2009.
And even that one was, you don't want to say fool's gold, but it turned out to be a bit of a flash in the pan. It's, it might be the best team since potentially anyway, best laid plans and whatnot. It could be the best team since the Mutombo era Nuggets maybe, or even those really exciting Doug Moe era Nuggets of the 80s, which you'd be too young to remember. But before we get on to what this team could achieve, we mentioned it's a bounce back season. Last season, whatever could go wrong, outside of one particular player that I think we all know, whatever could go wrong really did go wrong for Denver.
Yeah, it was really a year of injuries. It was hoping that following the season before where the Nuggets finished third in the West, made it to the second round, and then lost Jamal Murray in that series, ended up getting swept by the Suns. But last year, the Nuggets finished 48-34, which was sixth in the West and second in their division, which I personally was kind of expecting more, but then injuries just played such a big role in that. We ended up having to play the Warriors in the first round, lost that series 4-1. And I don't think anyone really expected the Nuggets to have much of a chance in that series with just Jokic playing. Even though he was playing out of his mind, it's just a one-man band isn't enough.
I think more important than the fact you were playing the Warriors was the fact that you were playing Austin Rivers serious minutes.
Yeah, it was not great with Austin Rivers. And I mean, another player we'll discuss later, Will Barton, there was always that hope, but he was the guy who should be stepping up in those playoff moments, but he just didn't this last year against the Warriors.
Yeah, look, I think he's past his prime, Will Barton. I love the People's Champ, but he's just past the point where you can expect him to be a semi-consistent 20-point-a-game scorer, which is unfortunate, but that's probably a really good segue because he's no longer a Nugget. So let's talk about the transactions that the Nuggets have made over the offseason.
Yeah, he is no longer a Nugget. The Nuggets traded Will Barton and Monte Morris to the Washington Wizards in return for Kendavius Caldwell-Pope and Ish Smith. I'm really excited about that Kendavius Caldwell-Pope addition because the Nuggets' biggest issue last year wasn't necessarily their offense, but it was that defensive unit outside of Jokic. As soon as Jokic would come off the court, the defense would just plummet and dissolve, and a 20-point lead could suddenly turn into a 5-10-point deficit. So this addition of KCP gives that Nuggets that good 3-and-D player to help carry the second unit if he comes off the bench or when he does play with the bench unit, because I wouldn't be surprised if we see him starting to begin the season.
I think he will start as well. I think he comes in as your new version of Gary Harris, who, as much as Harris's shooting went off a cliff for a few years there, as you mentioned, his defense, KCP will be there for his defense as much as anything. And that's one thing that Gary Harris always gave Denver. He always held up his end of the bargain defensively. So who else have they? Before we go to who else they've brought in, I think it's worth mentioning that Denver, this moving to Denver means that Ish Smith officially breaks the record. He has now played for more NBA franchises than any other player. I believe it's 14 now, which is just
remarkable.
An insane number.
I considering he's probably been in the league for maybe 15 years tops, maybe a little bit.
Yeah, I'd say 13. I think he's 33 now, so say 13 years, but give or take. Yeah,
that's over a team a year he's been on, which is
he's in that perfect Venn diagram of good enough to be in the league, but not good enough to be a core player. He's always that. How about we just give you Ish Smith? He's a nice player, and he always seems to get the trade over the line. It's a remarkable legacy for a guy who, frankly, has been nondescript for a decade on the floor.
Yeah, and I mean, the one part of that trade was getting Ish Smith. You kind of you just covered it. What you're getting. I thought I was kind of fine with the Nuggets trading away Will Barton. His shooting has struggled lately. He just hasn't been the clutch player the Nuggets have needed at times. But I really was sad about the Nuggets losing Monte Morris.
Yeah.
He was a great player off the bench leading that second unit. What I'm hoping is that Bones Highland steps up big time this year. I think he could be a potential star in the league at some point. Maybe not a superstar, but I think he can make an all-star team at some point.
Oh, that's a big call. That's a top 25 player right there.
I think he has that raw talent to have at least one just breakout year, and he has the mindset, it seems. I've really enjoyed watching him last year, and I'm just excited to see him take that step forward this year.
Yeah, look, I'm a big fan of Bones. I don't think there's all-star level potential in there, but I think he's going to be a very good player for a long time. Like, I honestly think he's like he could reach that sort of Jordan Clarkson or even slightly better than Jordan Clarkson level for mine, where he's a really valuable spark plug bench scorer. But let's go back to the rest of the transactions, because there were a few other players that came in and out for Denver.
Yeah, the Nuggets signed DeAndre Jordan, which I thought was kind of an interesting move. I would have much preferred them keeping Boogie Cousins from last season, because DeMarcus Cousins, when he came onto the Nuggets, when he wasn't getting ejected or teed up, he was playing outstandingly on that second unit as that backup center to Jokic.
Look, I think it would have been – I think the Nuggets will get more production from the money they've signed Jordan for if they'd literally just put it into a shredder. Like,
he didn't
he's been a good player for a long time, all NBA, but he's done. He is absolutely cooked.
Yeah, he didn't do much with Brooklyn last year, and
Philly last year, Brooklyn the year before, but yeah, he's been done for a while.
Yeah, it's not a great signing for the Nuggets.
Yeah.
But the guy I'm excited for, the Nuggets drafted Christian Braun out of Kansas. I think that's another player. We talked about the defense of Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. I think Braun has that ability as a rookie to maybe be put into that second half of the second unit and maybe just get some big minutes at times. But he's a winner. First and foremost, he won 3 state national championships in high school. He won the national championship last year with Kansas. He has that winning mentality, and he kind of just does a little bit of everything at both ends of the court.
Yeah, he's a handy pickup. I think he projects as that perfect rotation piece that is malleable, that you can put him into a whole bunch of situations. This is one of the easier questions that you'll ever get asked, but who's going to be the star man for the Nuggets this year?
I think it's hard to say anybody but the back-to-back MVP, Nikola Jokic, who's also now the highest paid NBA player in the league after he signed that 5-year, $264 million extension. So along with Jokic, the Nuggets now have the highest signed mascot and the highest signed player in the league. But no, Jokic really, he's the heart and soul of this team. He does everything offensively. Defensively, he was the anchor last season, which wasn't saying a ton, but he still did enough. He was averaging 27.1 points, 7.9 assists, and 13.8 rebounds. He also led the team in steals and blocks. He's just that guy for the Nuggets. He makes everyone around him better because you have to double team him in the post, and he makes the weird shots. And he's always able to find that open guy in the corner. He just is one of those rare talents.
And that's the thing that I think people, people look at this big doughy white boy and go, well, he can't play defense. He, as you mentioned, led the team in steals and blocks. Yes, he's huge. He's going to get some blocks, and yes, his hands are elite. He's going to get steals, but he's got to be in the right position to do that because he doesn't have the athleticism to catch up from a bad spot. He has to get into his spot before the attacking player, and that shows the defensive intelligence that 95% of the league don't have.
Yeah, and I mean,
if you put his defensive intelligence into, a hyper athletic center, let's say a Mitchell Robinson type, you'd be talking the new David Robinson, frankly, the new Olajuwon, with the amount of defense they play. So Jokic is a far better defensive player than what he gets credit for.
And he's improved so much in the last few years alone defensively.
Yeah, no, he really has. He's found new levels in well, all parts of his game, really, thus the two MVPs, I suppose. He's gotten the recognition for that. Just turning it a little bit, who do you think the X factor is going to be for Denver? Who's their swing piece?
Oh, I think this year it's got to be Jamal Murray. And really, it's kind of that question of he tore his ACL a little over a season and a half ago. How well is he going to be when he comes back? Is he going to be game ready? Is his athleticism that he had there going to still be there? His speed? But I think it will be. I think there's a reason. He was apparently healthy enough to come back for the playoffs, but rightfully so. I think the Nuggets made the right move not bringing him back because they weren't going to beat the Warriors anyway, so no need to risk it.
For what you could gain for that compared to what you could lose, it wasn't worth it.
Yeah, but besides Jamal Murray, I think it's going to be interesting to see Michael Porter. I think he's a talented player, but he just has too much of an injury history. If he stays healthy, he is that great third piece alongside Murray and Jokic. He can help spread the floor out, but it's that question of, is he going to stay healthy?
Yeah, it's always health with him. And look, and this is, I guess, encouraging for you as a Nuggets fan, that when Steph Curry was 4 years into his career, we were saying the same thing about him. When Brad Beal was 4 years into his career, we said the same thing about him. And yeah, they've had the odd injury of late, but that's when they're 30 and 32 and 34 and those sorts of things. So there is precedent for someone like Porter, who is just consistently just crocked all the time. There is precedent for him to to find some rhythm in his body, to get some consistency out of it. On the Jamal Murray one, I think it's really important to consider that without Morris there, Denver don't have their security blanket at point guard anymore. Morris is one of the best backup point guards in the league. He's not as good as Tyus Jones, for instance, but he's not far off. And with him not there, you've only got Bones, who is not a traditional point guard by any means, and he's a second-year player. Is there a sophomore slump there? If Murray isn't himself, or is not quite yet back to himself, Denver could find themselves in a little bit more strife in that point guard rotation than some people are thinking.
Yeah.
Monty Morris was such a big, and a quiet piece of what Denver have done the last few years.
Yeah, absolutely. Losing Jamal, even if he doesn't come back in his full health, it's going to be a tough position to fill. Because as you said, losing Monte Morris, we have Bones Highland as a backup. The Nuggets got Bruce Brown, but he's not really as much a point guard as he would be a shooting guard. And then there's Ish Smith.
Well, we use the term shooting loosely with Bruce Brown.
Exactly. He's there. He's a guard.
Yeah. But having said that, Bruce Brown is an excellent pickup. I think he's going to gel with Jokic. Like he's one of the best cutters in the league. I think he's going to gel with Jokic in a major, major way. I think we're going to see a lot of Jokic to Brown highlights this year.
Yeah, I think that's a very underrated signing by the Nuggets that kind of just flew below the radar. And I mean, even in Denver, it flew below the radar of a lot of fans there. They were questioning,
really?
who is Bruce Brown? Why? How does he come in and help? But it's it was a very interesting signing to a lot of Nuggets fans who, to their extent, I guess basketball wasn't the biggest sport in Denver this past year, considering the Avalanche made it all the way to the Cup and won that. So a lot of eyes were off basketball by the time the Nuggets went out. So, but still, I was surprised to see as little people talking about Bruce Brown as they were.
Yeah, I think he's a wonderful signing. I think that's like he's a good player in his own right, but he's a good player with the perfect teammate in Jokic. Yeah, I think that's a really good signing.
And there's one more player I'd like to mention is just I think he'll take a massive step forward this year is Zeke Naji. I think Zeke Naji could take a huge step forward, especially with DeAndre Jordan as the backup center. We both said DeAndre Jordan's past his prime. His kind of career's going down the drain. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Zeke Naji get that second role play as the center, as the backup.
Well, it was said, I can't remember whether it was Michael Malone or I'm not sure who said it, but someone within the Nuggets organization said that Jordan would be the backup five. But having said that, that might be something that they've said just to keep a veteran engaged. But a month of bad play from Jordan, and I think we'll see that changed. And look, Najee, he can also play the 4. You know, he can step out and shoot just a little bit, and he's not quite as good as Aaron Gordon as a shooter, but and that's a low bar to clear. But he can play the 4 as well. So I agree. I think Najee's in for, I won't say a breakout year, but it'll be the sort of year where people outside of Denver and, NBA nerds like us, they start to actually know who Zeke Nnaji is. I think there's something there with him.
Yeah, because he was talented at Arizona in college, and I mean, this is his 4th year, I believe, in the NBA. So it'll be nice to see him take that step forward, because I have a feeling that potential is there.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think there's a player in there. So let's tie a nice little neat bow on this, Jerry. What's your prediction for where the Nuggets will end up? How many games will they win? Let's assume they'll make the playoffs. How far do you think they'll go in the playoffs?
I really think this is, like we mentioned earlier, this is the best Nuggets team we've seen in a long time. And if healthy, and that's the key, is if healthy, I could see the Nuggets winning easily over 50 games. I think they could finish with a record of 54-28, especially with Utah kind of falling off the pace a bit. So it won't be as that big competition in the division. So I think the Nuggets should run away with the division to an extent. And I could see them finishing anywhere in that top 3. But for right now, I'm saying Nuggets are going to finish 2nd, because I believe the Warriors or Suns, one of those teams will win that division. And they'll probably end up with the best record. And then by playing each other so many times, it kind of bumps the other one down a bit. And
I think it's worth mentioning that it's probably going to be the Warriors, because this is where my Australianism, my national pride comes in. I can't stand the Adelaide 36ers, but just for once, go Sixers. Love them.
Yeah, that was incredible to see.
That was spectacular. Anyway, sorry, I've taken away. I've digressed.
And as far as playoffs go, a finals appearance would be amazing to see, but realistically, I think a Western Conference final might be that top part for the Nuggets this year. Give it maybe. I do think there is a title window in Denver, but I don't think it's necessarily this year, especially with it being the first year back of Murray, Porter, and Jokic all together.
Yeah.
I mean, just need
get a little bit of continuity first.
Yeah, like a little gelling year and then get at it next season.
Yeah. So there you have it. Jerry Walker, his call is 54 wins and potentially a conference final if everything falls right, and maybe a finals appearance for his Nuggets. So Denver fans, light a candle, pray to your gods, whatever health deity you need to pray to, make sure you pray to them, because, geez, it'd be nice to see the Nuggets get a full season together. This side could really be exciting. But that will do us for this edition of our NBA preview videos. That's Jerry Walker. You can catch him at JerryF007. I'm Jarrod Prosser. That's hey_it's_JP. All of our NBA previews will be up on our YouTube channel, so make sure you hit that subscribe button, and we will see you for our next NBA preview. Goodbye for now.